Before you can do any work on the inside of the system unit, you'll have to remove the case. This is a simple process, but there are several techniques we can suggest that will make the job easier.
The only tool you'll need is a screwdriver, either straight or Phillips head, or a nut driver. Different computer manufacturers use various types of fasteners, so it's important that you have a variety of tools on hand. You might also want to have a small divided box on hand to organize the screws you remove. This will be especially important when you are working on a PC at a client site, where it will be easy to lose a screw or get them mixed up.
Find a good place to work. You'll need a sturdy desk or tabletop with enough room to allow you to rotate the system unit and slide the case off. If you try removing the case in a confined area, you'll make your job more difficult and will run the risk of damaging the computer or injuring yourself.
Be sure the power is turned off to the system unit and other components. It's not necessary to unplug all the peripheral devices from the system unit, but it might make your job easier if you can't gain easy access to the back of the computer. Before you unplug anything, draw a diagram of the back of the system unit so you can reinstall everything correctly. Some technicians attach a tag to each cable and put a small piece of masking tape beside each connector. They label the tag and tape with the name of the peripheral to which it is connected.
Others color code cables and connectors with felt tip marking pens. These practices will make reassembling the computer much easier.
Unplug the monitor from the computer and the wall outlet and lift it off the system unit. Be sure you put the monitor on a sturdy surface that's high enough so you won't have to bend over too far to pick it up.
Try not to put it on the ground, but if you must, put the screen side to the wall so you or someone else doesn't accidentally kick the screen.
Turn the system unit around or move to a position so you can see the back. On older PCs, XTs, ATs, and clones, there are usually 5 screws that connect the case to the system unit. PS2s and some other models might have fewer screws. Remove the screws with a screwdriver or a nut driver. Put the screws in the divided box so they don't get lost or mixed up. Slide the case toward the front of the system unit. Do this carefully so you don't damage any ribbon cables, adapter cards, or other components. With PS2s and other models, you will also have to lift the front of the computer as you slide it forward. The motherboard, or system board, is the large circuit board on the bottom of the system unit. Adapter cards are mounted in the back of the motherboard. The power supply is located in the right rear, and the disk drives are on the front right.
We won't be removing the motherboard, but if you ever have to, you'll first have to remove these and other components. As you can imagine, removing the motherboard isn't something you'll do very often.
The motherboard is held in place by several screws and spacers. The spacers keep the motherboard raised slightly above the bottom of the system unit case. If you ever actually had to remove a motherboard, you would unscrew it and slide it out of the system unit case.
The spacers should not be removed from the motherboard when it's taken from the system unit.
Replacing the system unit case is the reverse of removing it. Slide the lid back on in, just the opposite way you removed it. Again, be careful not to damage any cables or components. Don't force the case back on. If something is hanging up, look for it carefully, and if necessary, gently push it back as you slide the lid on. When the lid is seated correctly, reinstall the retaining screws. Screw them firmly in place, but not so tight that you strip them. Reattach all the peripheral connecting cables. If you label them as we suggested, you'll find this is an easy task.
Put the monitor back on the computer and reconnect the cable to the computer and the power outlet. Make sure everything is the same as when you started by checking against the diagram you drew.